This bite size is being brought to you by the Institution of Structural Engineers. Hi, my name is Julia Leask. I'm a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. I have had my own business working with SMEs for 10 years after 18 years working in blue chips. Lately, I've helped clients access government loans, create business recovery plans, set up payment plans with customers, carried out coaching sessions via Zoom, and updated quarterly management accounts. Thank you for making time to watch this important bite size. I appreciate that these are difficult times with great uncertainty and concern for you all. When I created my own business recovery plan, I identified 4 core values. One of my business values is to make a difference. So with this core purpose in mind, I'm here to share with you practical things you can do to minimize the downside on your cash flow at this time. Before we kick off, I just want to give you a thought for the day. When a recession does materialize, many experts agree ready cash is the oxygen that every small business owner requires to survive. Sir Richard Branson also refers to cash as the oxygen the business needs to survive. While of course cash flow can be very difficult in these times, today I want to share with you some practical things you can do to preserve that cash flow. With our thought for the day in mind, you should never take your eye off the cash flow. And before I want to talk about strategies you can adopt, let's talk about 3 mindsets you need to have. 1, you must be empathetic. 2, you must approach your debtor management with backbone and heart. 3, it's okay to sell in these times, so long as you are solving problems for your customers that they have right now. Remember the analogy of the oxygen mask on a plane in a time of an emergency. You need to put your own oxygen mask on first. If your business falls over, no one wins. Of course, it's not as simple as saying, right, oxygen mask on me, the customer must pay or we won't help. I've heard some horror stories of businesses who are stopping credit and ramping up their debt collection without any thought for how their customers are coping. I know that's not you. So before we work out the best way to keep the cash flow going, we need a framework. This framework starts with empathy, which I define as the ability to see things from your customer's perspective and be prepared to do something about it. Hence the idea of giving customers options as to how they can pay you. Work through the bullet points 1 to 4 as a framework to follow, and make sure your team are working through this framework too. You all have to be singing off the same hymn sheet. So long as we are being empathetic and giving clients choice, we can talk about how we are going to get paid. A useful mindset here is to remember to have backbone and heart. Backbone is sharing that you are running a business too and need the cash flow. Heart is being empathetic, flexible, and considerate in your approach. The final mindset in these times, especially if you're a service provider, is that it's okay to sell. So long as your service is solving a problem for your customers, and so long as you're going to be paid for the work that you do. The spin cycle is a line of questions starting with a situation question, which is in the top left, and then moving to problem questions and so on. Here's an example that we could use, which is very current. We could be a barber, for example. The situation question might be, how are you coping with being at home right now? Are you spending a lot of time on FaceTime or other calls with video on? Your problem question would be, how do you feel every day? Most probably it's going to be a bad hair day, right? Impact question, how do you think you're going to be feeling in a month from now? And the next step questions would be, I know we can't be certain when this will all be over, but should we book you in for a cut in say 3 weeks' time? I'm just having a bit of fun here. What's important is that it's absolutely okay to sell, so long as you link your offering as a way of solving a current problem for your customers. So now we've talked about the 3 mindsets you need to have, we can talk more specifically about your debtor system in these challenging times. Firstly, I'll talk about best practice, then I'll discuss a guide and some scripts, and then I'll talk some more about credit control processes. Essentially, nothing should change, you just dial up your empathy. By engaging more with your customers around their particular circumstances, you can tweak your processes just for the customers who are going to struggle. Remember that not all of your customers are at great risk here. COVID-19 should not give them an excuse not to pay you. You have done the work, you're running a business, and you need to be paid. You should be using paperless systems. If not, this is going to need to be your top priority, or your customers simply won't know how much to pay you or when. Best practice for credit control is that you have great guidance notes for your team members responsible for credit control and debt collecting. Things like flowcharts, scripts, and templates. Many problems with debtors come across because we don't put great systems in place around giving credit in the first place. Here's a snippet of the guide and credit control scripts I've put together. I'm happy to share this with you at no cost. Please just contact me. It's important to remember that credit control is not just about following up with your debtors. It's a complete system from when you take on your customer through to they pay you. As mentioned previously, I recommend that you outsource your credit management. I not only believe that this is best practice, it frees up your time as well. It is essential that you build a relationship with your chosen provider so that they can understand your core values, your style of communication, and the language that you use. Having said that, outsourcing is best practice. It is not an ambulance at the bottom of a cliff. In the current climate, you can't suddenly outsource credit management for customers who are really going to struggle in these difficult times, as this will cause brand damage for you, the credit controller, not to mention wasting a lot of time. Here's who I would recommend you contact for credit checks for new customers. There are other providers too if you have a look around. You don't have to inherit other firms' non-paying customers even in the current climate, so you've got to protect yourself. Credit checking should be a standard part of your onboarding process. That's why I would include it in any cash flow management. I would also recommend that you forward a link to swoop funding or other funding providers. If you are wanting to add value to your current or potential clients, this is a good way of doing something for nothing that actually gets you goodwill with them. With all of the monies available at the moment, it is possible that they have not applied for a grant or a loan that will help their own cash flow and so enable them to pay you. So we've talked about best practice with your debtors and how to avoid working for people for nothing. Now it's time to talk about what you need to do going forward from here to maximize your own cash flow. Some of these concepts you may have heard of before, but please be aware things are changing on a daily basis, so it's important only to use up-to-date information. One of the most important ways to improve your business is to shorten your cash conversion cycle. In other words, get your cash quicker. What's important in times of crisis is that all businesses speed up their cash conversion cycle so that the economy keeps working. Paying your suppliers more slowly just creates problems for other businesses who, most likely, are suffering as much as you are. Using the numbers from your most recent business accounts and your management accounts, you can work out your numbers and calculate your cash conversion cycle. From there, you can review how to shorten your cash cycle and free up more cash. For example, if your debtors are £50,000 and your turnover is £500,000 per annum, a 10-day reduction in your cash conversion cycle is worth about £13,700 to you. That is cash that you could really do with right now, I'm sure. I recommend you incorporate a review of your cash conversion cycle as part of your business recovery plan or forecast, so as to free up as much cash flow as possible. Another area of focus to improve your cash flow needs to be on your Business 101 cycle in these difficult times. As you are probably aware, there's a massive difference between profit and cash. Profit is what you pay your taxes on. Cash is the oxygen your business needs to survive. What is so important here is that, as well as improving your cash conversion cycle, you make plans to maximize your profit and at the same time finance your business correctly. Let's walk through this Business 101 cycle. Starting at the top, as an owner, you introduce cash into the business to buy assets. You may also borrow cash to purchase assets. Those assets are used to generate a profit. Once you've derived your profit, you need to turn that into cash. Profitable businesses can and do go broke at times like these. Other areas to help improve your cash flow are those better terms with your finance providers. The 7 causes of poor cash flow is a very vast area, and I'll go over this in summary. But the 7 sort of main areas to look at are: one of the ways we can shorten our cash conversion cycle is by getting paid faster by our customers. A way we can improve our accounts payable process is to ensure that prompt payment discounts are taken up. One of the ways we can shorten our cash cycle is by moving stock faster. We could improve our debt structure by reviewing interest rates, comparing fixed versus variable. We can reduce our overheads by controlling staff expense claims and the use of credit cards. Our gross profit margin is what is left from sales after deducting variable costs such as stock for resale, materials and labour, so these costs should be reviewed regularly. And as for sales, increasing sales, there are many ways to do this. One of them is by increasing the transaction value of every contract. So how do we pull all of this together in a meaningful way in our current climate and into the future? Outsource credit management where you can. Remember the points I made earlier about being empathetic with those customers and use the guide and scripts like the ones I mentioned before. Revise your terms of trade and proposals. Make sure you don't perpetuate poor practice into the future. Remember to look at your billing process. Also check that you've revised your price list to ensure that the margins you're expecting are being maintained. With so much cloud-based technology, now is a great time to be looking at how you can use automation to free up your time and cash flow. Last but by no means least, take a look at your management controls and procedures about spending and invoicing. Whatever you do, don't keep working for customers who don't pay. You are running a business, and right now you need to reduce your risk wherever you can. Often one of the highest overheads in a business are the interest costs to finance providers with the principal that you've taken on a loan. This can be a massive drain on business at this time. Here's a list of the ways that the bank or other finance providers could be able to help you right now. Part of your cash flow improvement or business recovery plan should be a discussion with your bank or finance provider about how they can help you. I'm happy to talk to you in advance if you want to have a discussion before you go to your bank. Please just contact me. There have been many updates from the government as to what financial support individuals and businesses are entitled to. This list is accurate as at the 8th of July, but it's very important to review your current situation to ensure you are entitled to what you're applying for. As you're probably aware, businesses that have abused the furlough scheme have been identified and legal action is commencing. Do contact me again if you need details of what is available. So I've set out for you the mindsets you need to have in these difficult times: to be empathetic, have backbone and heart around debt collecting and how to avoid shying away from selling. I've shared best practice about credit control and debt collection and explained a guide and script you can use. We covered how to free up as much cash flow as possible by looking closely at your cash flow conversion cycle and Business 101 model. We looked at the 7 causes of poor cash flow and how you can get runs on the board quickly to improve cash flow, including what support is available from the bank. I've shared in general terms what support is available from the government and other sources. Now it's essential that you decide what you're going to do. As I've said before, clearly doing nothing is not an option. Now's the time to put the oxygen mask on yourself and make a plan to get through the crisis. Even if that plan involves closing your business, you are better off to make the decision sooner rather than later to preserve what cash flow you have. Part of that planning is to surround yourself with experts like me. I'm here to help you if you need it. And finally, remember, focus on what you can do. So thank you for taking the time to watch this bite-sized session. I appreciate that your time is very valuable right now. I hope I've given you plenty of ideas to think about and some clear options of how you can get help and support. But before we go, I think I'd share this quote with you. When you show deep empathy towards others, their defensive energy goes down and their positive energy replaces it. That's when you get more creative in solving problems. Quote by Stephen Covey. So let's make sure that we approach our cash flow challenges with empathy to get through this difficult time. Please do contact me if you need more details on anything I've covered. I'm Julia from Leask Accountancy Solutions.